So that is now the diagram for the Miller and Orro cash management model. So when you continue in the handout, they say that Miller and Orro's cash management is used to make decisions as follows. It is used to make decisions as follows. You can see when the cash balances increases up to the upper limit H. When the cash balances increases up to the upper limit H, then the company should invest shillings H minus Z in the short-term marketable securities. Should invest shillings H minus Z in the short-term marketable securities. Then also B, when the cash balances reduces up to the lower limit, and the cash balances reduces up to the lower limit, then the company should convert shillings Z minus L from the short-term marketable securities into cash. From the short-term marketable securities into cash. Then C, if the cash balances are along the optimum limit, if the cash balances are along the optimum limit, that is Z, then no action should be taken. Then no action should be taken. So they have given you those details, which I want us now to use the question to go through where they have indicated as according to Miller and Orro's. So let us check some questions in your past papers in relation to the Miller and Orro's so that we can now answer that particular question. So the question I want us to start with is the one for December 2022, question number 3, part B. So we check the question for December 2022. Question number 3, part B. 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 So that question 3, part B, it reads that Baraka Transport Limited, Trans Limited, has a minimum cash balance limit of shillings 100,000. A minimum cash balance limit of shillings 100,000. The standard deviation of the daily cash flows, is shillings 25,000. Shillings 25,000. So the interest rate on the marketable security is 9.2% per annum. So the transaction cost for each sale or purchase of the security is 200. Assume 365 days a year, so required, using Miller and Orro cash management model. Using Miller and Orro cash management model, determine the target cash balance, target or return point, or optimum, the target or the return point or the optimum. Roman letter 2, the upper cash limit. Roman letter 3, average cash balance. Roman letter 4, the spread. So let us start with the Roman letter 1, how to compute the return point. So return point is the same as the target, is the same as the optimum limit. It's the same as the optimum limit. So let us see how to get that. So it is there in the notes. So I will be giving you the formula for each. So the return point. So Z is the return point. Z is the return point. It is supposed to be given by, I will explain what each one of them stands for. So to explain what each one of them stands for. I want to explain what each one of them stands for. So we know this, we have said that is what? Optimum or target or the return point. So we start with that P. You see the P? So P is the transaction cost per transaction. So that particular P is the transaction cost per transaction. Is the transaction cost per transaction. So P is meant to be the transaction cost per transaction. Then this one here, you see this one? Yeah, this one is the variance of the daily cash flows. So this one is the variance of the daily cash flows. This one I say is the transaction cost. Then this one is the daily interest rate. This one is the daily interest rate. Then L is the minimum cash balance, where L is the minimum cash balance, where L is the minimum cash balance. So it will be equal to 3B. So B is meant to be, when you check through the question, they gave you the transaction cost for each sale or purchase of the security is how much? You see the 200. Then this one is the variance of the daily cash. So the question gave you the standard deviation. Are you able to see the standard deviation of the daily cash flows? Is 25,000. So we need to square that to get the variance. But if the question gives you the variance, don't square it. Use it the way it is. Then we divide by 4 multiplied by I. So I have said is the daily interest rate. What the question gave you is the per annum. You see they have given us per annum. So what we do, you take the 9.2%, divide by 100. That will be the same as what? 0.092. But we want it per day. I said I is the daily interest rate. They have said we assume that how many days in a year? 365 like that. So raised to the power of 1/3. Then we add L. So L is the minimum cash balance. L is meant to be the minimum cash balance, where the question had given us how much? 100,000. So you calculate, then you give me that. So we are getting which figure? So 71. 171? 960. 960. All of you are getting which figure? Online you are getting which value? No, I know ask what the calculator. Someone online has given me, I've seen 171, 950. And also seen 123, 980, 978, 400. So you said it is 171? 916. How about others? So, should we conclude it is 171? But I'm asking Menyamaza. That is why I'm saying we conclude it's 171. Yes. Because you are not giving me your figures. Others you are getting which figures? So you tell your figures so that we compare. Online, can we go by 171?
Yes.
Sasa tuanzie hapa. Nyinyi wote mwangalie kokote. Sitaki tena mtu aniulize how to do it. Can we start together?
Yes.
Kila mtu aende kwa calculator yake you press. Start with this one. No, start with this one. Get 25,000 squared. Umepata 25,000 squared.
Yes.
Multiplied by 200. Multiplied. Nimekwambia get your calculator, we start together. I have said get 25,000 squared. You get the answer, isn't it?
Yes.
Multiplied by 200. Multiplied by 3. You also get the answer. So pick up. Then Una division sign on your calculator. Let's start again with this one here after you have divided, isn't it? Press. In fact, after that, first of all, open the brackets. You have put there the division sign. Open the brackets. Your calculator has this function. Start from here, 0.092. Divide by division sign, 365. Then multiply by 4. Then close the brackets. Now close the brackets. So press equal sign. Unapata your answer. After you get that answer, you have to press this side. Press this side. You have to press this side. Open the brackets again. 1 divide by 3, close the brackets. You have done that. Then press equal sign. Tumefika hapo. Nakuja ngapi? Nakuja 71. Sasa muadi hiyo 100,000. So, what are we coming up with? What are we coming up with? 171. 916 when you round off. So we are together up to that point. Yeah, so that is what you should do. How to get that figure. That is what you'll be able to do. Get now that value. So after that, that is now your Roman letter 1. How to compute the target cash level. So we go to the Roman letter 2, the upper cash limit. We go to the Roman letter 2, the upper cash limit. So we go to the Roman letter 2. Come up with the upper cash limits. So to get the upper cash limit is the same as H. To get the upper cash limit will be the same as H. So H should be equal to 3Z minus 2. So H should be equal to 3Z minus 2L. Minus 2L. So we have so far calculated Z. Your figure can calculate say, Masema 171. 916. Like that. Then minus 2 multiplied by L. L is the lower cash limit. How much was the lower cash limit? Was it 100,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that will be able to give you the upper cash limit. That should now be able to give you the upper cash limit. That should now be able to give you cash limit. So after the upper cash limit, we now go to the Roman letter 3, average cash balance. We also wanted to get the average cash balance. So to compute the average cash balance, to get the average cash balance, it is supposed to be equal to the average cash balance is supposed to be given by 4z minus L. Then we divide by 3. 4z minus L by 5. So, before multiplied by z, z was 1, is 1. Minus L. L is 100 pounds. Then divided by 3. So that is now your average cash balance. So you go to the Roman letter 4. Roman letter 4 is the spread. Roman letter 4 is the spread. So we get the spread. So the spread will be H minus L. So get the spread. Alex, you go to the handout. If you go to the handout, then you just write what I've written because it is there in the handout. Yeah. If you are asking where you can't see where I get the formula, because now I have no time to go and tell you, you read this page and that page. I already sent the notes in the handout. Then I've given you a formula. So get it from the board, not any other place. Get that formula from the board, not any other place. So what was your proposal? Where was it supposed to come from? The Z formula. Yeah, even the diagram we drew, I said it is not there in the handout. That is why I drew it. So the Z formula is there, but I have not indicated it because you will not understand from the explanation in the handout. That's why I wrote it. Then I explain what P means, what I means, what L means. So that is what is required for you to know. Amma, you are not in class when we started? Were you in class when we started today? Yeah, so if you came late, then you cope with where we are. Because I can't go back and start doing what we had already started. So it is recorded, it will be sent. Then also go to the handout, you will get those details. So let us now get the spread. So the spread you are getting how much? H was how much? Sorry? H was 171. So when I ask you what the answer, then you say, what I've asked, no one is answering. Then someone now, is it the answer? No, is it the answer? I write it. What is the answer for H? Sorry? 315. 748. Then now you subtract 100,000. So that is what should be the spread. That is what is meant to be the spread. So we get another question. We can now get another question. So this one should be in the sitting of November 2020. Question number 3, part A. 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 We check November 2020. Question number 3, part A. November 2020, question 3, part A. So when you check through that question for November 2020, question number 3, part A, they had asked that part A, the following information relates to Baupo traders. Number 1, minimum cash balance is 8,000. The minimum cash balance is 8,000. Not number 2, the variance of the daily cash flows is 4 million. The variance of the daily cash flows is 4 million, equivalent to the standard deviation of 2,000. So here we use the variance. So you square the standard deviation to get the variance. But now that they have given you the variance, just use it directly. Now that they have given the variance, you just use it directly. They also gave you the transaction cost for buying or selling the securities is 50 shillings. Not number 4, interest rate is 0.025% per day. This one is given per day. The other question was given per annum. You remember we divided by how many number of days in a year? 365, because that is what had been specified. So required using Miller and Oro model of managing cash. Determine the following. Roman letter 1 is what? The spread. Roman letter 2, upper cash limit. Roman letter 3 is what? The return point. So from the question that we have just done, you see the question we have done, you start from the return point, isn't it? You start from the return point, then you go to the upper cash limit. Before you get the spread, you see the spread is H minus L. So H is the upper cash limit. Then before you get the upper cash limit, you must get Z. You see the formulas that we have had. So in that question, you should start with the Roman letter 3, go to the Roman letter 2 before you go to the Roman letter 1. It is not possible to answer Roman letter 1 unless you have done 2 and 3. Then you cannot answer Roman letter 2 unless you have done Roman letter 3. So always remember you start from where? Return point or the target. Then go to the high point. Before now you can get what? The spread. So even if the question gives you the way it has been arranged, but remember you start from where? Return or the target. Then go to the upper before you get what? The spread. Now, so let us start with the Roman letter 3. How to compute the return point. Return point is the same as Z. The return point is the same as the Z. So to calculate Z, So Z, I've said is supposed to be given by, it was given by what? It was 3B in that particular item, then 4I, we raise the power of 1 over what? 1 over 3, then we are coming up with that. So that is the formula I've given you, how to get the return point. Then I explained that B is the transaction cost per transaction. B is the transaction cost per transaction. This one was the variance of the daily cash flows. This is the variance of the daily cash flows. Then I, we said it is the daily interest rate. Then L is the minimum cash balance. So we come back, this 3 multiplied by P. So P from that point, you see in the note number 3, what is the transaction cost of buying or selling the securities? 50 shillings. So this one I've said a variance. So this question gave you the variance and the standard deviation. So we just use the variance the way it is. If you are given the standard deviation like in the previous question, you do what? Square to get the variance. So the variance here has been given as how much in the note number 2? It is 4 million. I'm not squaring this figure because it is already what? A variance. But if you use the 2000, you see the 2000 the standard deviation. When you square 2000, what will you come up with? When you square 2000, it is the 4 million, isn't it? Yeah, so when they give you the standard deviation, square it to get the variance. But when they give you the variance, just use it the way it is. Then now we divide by 4I. I is the daily interest rate. So this question in the note number 4, interest rate is 0.025% per day. So it is already per day. The other question they gave you per annum. You remember it was per annum. Then we divided by 365 days in a year because those days were given to get per day. So this one is a percentage. Because it is a percentage, you take 0.025 divided by 100. Because it is already a percentage. When you take 0.025 divided by 100, it's the same as 0.1. There are how many decimal points after, how many zeros after the decimal point? When you divide by 100. Sorry? There are 4 decimal points, zeros. Yeah, the question has given you 0.025%, isn't it? So divided by 100 because it's a percentage. There are 3 zeros after the decimal point. Then 25 like that. Yeah, we all agree on that figure? Then it is a percentage, so don't use it the way it was at 0.025. It is, they have indicated there is what? A percentage. So divide by 100 before you use it. Then raise to the power of 1 over 3. We add L. L is the minimum cash balance. L is meant to be the minimum cash balance, which has been given to you in the note number 1. Minimum cash balance is how much? 8,000. So can you confirm what is our Z? You confirm to see. So this time all of us should get the same thing. Yeah. This time we should all get the same figure. So what should be that figure? Remember, if you don't get this one right, then don't attempt Roman letter 3, Roman letter 2 like that, because this is what you need to the upper limit. So if you don't get it correctly, then you will have lost the remaining marks together with that one. So it should be how much?
16.
It is 16 hours. 16 for 34. Yeah. When I'm here, 16 for 34. So all of us are getting that. So that is now our Roman letter 3. That is now our Roman letter 3. Online, I hope you are comfortable with that figure. Are you comfortable? Yeah. So if you are comfortable, now we go to the Roman letter 2, the upper cash limit. We now compute the upper cash limit. We now compute the upper cash limit. We now compute the upper cash limit. So to get the upper cash limit, that was the same as H. It is supposed to be given by 3Z minus 2L. It is meant to be 3Z minus 2L. So it is 3. So Z was which here? 16 for 34. 2. So Alex is still asking what is the meaning of P, what is the meaning of C, what is the meaning of I, what is the meaning for Z. So I don't know how further I should explain that. Alex, have you been getting what I was explaining before I did this question? Go to the handout. Those details are there in the handout. Do you have the handout? But before I did this question, before you asked how I got the formula, when I was doing the question, I first of all explained. I said B is the daily, the transaction cost per transaction. Then my formula does not have an or. My formula does not have an or, it has this sign. This one I've said it is the variance of the daily cash flows. Then I explained I is the daily interest rate. So I've explained that before I did the question. So I don't know whether you are hearing me from where you are or there is a problem on your side. Are you able to hear me from this side? Because before I have done that part, I was explaining what each one of them is because you had asked that. So we now go to the Roman letter 1. Roman letter 1 is the spread. Roman letter 1 is the spread. Roman letter 1 is the spread. So to get the spread, the same as H minus what? The spread is H minus H. So what are we coming up with the value as H? That's 3. 3. 0.2 layers. Remember L was 8,000? Yeah. So that is now what we should be able to have. So that is Roman letter 3. So Roman letter 1. So we need now to go to the Roman letter 4. We should now go to the Roman letter 4. So Roman letter 4, they say that propose a decision rule for the cash management to the company based on your calculation. Based on your calculation. So before we do that, I want us to have this information. So H, we have said it is 33,302. Then Z was 16 hours. 434. Then L is 8,000. So I want you to go back to your handouts, the decisions that you have. Are you able to see after when we say the diagram? So that we make the division for that. So that we make the division for that. So that we make the division for that. You see the first division. They have said that if the cash balances increases up to where? Unaona hizo decisions. If the cash balances increases up the upper limit page, what happens? H minus Z should be converted into what? Short-term marketable securities. So we use this information to make those particular decisions. So let us start with the decision number 1, the first dash. So the first dash, you can write that we are on the decision rule. The first dash, we summarize that. If the cash balances increases, if the cash balances increases up to the upper limit, if the cash balances increases up to the upper limit, H, up to the upper limit H, then shillings H minus Z, then shillings H minus Z, which is 33,302 minus 16,434 minus 16,434, which is how much when you minus? It is 16 now. It is 16. 868 should it be invested? Should it be invested in the short-term marketable securities? Should it be invested in the short-term marketable securities? Should it be invested in the short-term marketable securities? Should be invested in the short-term marketable securities. Then the second dash, the second rule is that if the cash balances reduces up to the lower limit L, if the cash balances reduces up to the lower limit L, in brackets L, then shillings Z minus L, then shillings Z minus L, that is 16,434 minus 8,000, which is 8,434, isn't it? Should it be converted? From the short-term marketable securities? Should it be converted from the short-term marketable securities? Into cash? Should it be converted from the short-term marketable securities into cash? And finally, the last dash is that If the cash balances are along the optimum limit, if the cash balances are along the optimum limit, if the cash balances are along the optimum limit, i.e. at Z, i.e. at Z, then no action should be taken. Then no action should be taken. If the cash balances are along the optimum limit, i.e. Z, then no action should be taken. No action should be taken. So that is now how you make the decision. So you will do a question as your assignment, May 2018, question 1, part C. May 2018, question number 1, part C. That one is your assignment. I've done 2 questions on the model. So I'm saying it is the sitting of May 2018, question number 1, part C. So that one is your assignment. I've done 2 questions. Now you can also try that as your assignment. So after that, now that was the cash management. So when you go to your handout on page 5, now I want us to go to the debtors or account receivable management. We now go to the debtors or the accounts receivable management. Debtors, are you able to see the handout? So we started with the stock or inventory management. Then to kind of into the cash management. Now we go to debtors or accounts receivable management. Debtors or the account receivable management. We now go to the debtors or the account receivable management. So I want us to have a short break for those who are going for the prayers for 5 minutes. Then when we come back, we'll discuss that. So before then, those who are missing the first one, I'm going to bring it. So when you check through that portion of the debtors or account receivable management, the debtors or the account receivable management, they have said that debtors or account receivable result from the sale on credit. A company normally sell on credit due to the following reasons. Number one, in order to increase their sales volume. Then number two, in order to avoid the stock from getting out of fashion. So you read through them. Then number three, they have talked about in order to maintain existing customers like that. So those are now the amount of the account receivable outstanding at any particular period depend on the following factors. Volume of the company's credit sales, then also the average debtors collection period. Then they have explained all those. Then when you go to number three, you see something somewhere there down there as number three, the credit terms. You see that part for the credit terms? They have said that credit terms, this involves setting out the credit period allowed and any discount offer for the earlier payment. Any discount offer for the earlier payment. So credit terms may involve terms like the credit terms may involve terms like terms like 2/10. But you see that term. Yeah, you will be meeting that. Yeah. I hope Alex, you can be able to see that. Because I know you'll ask me where I got those items. Yeah, Alex, you are seeing what I'm writing on the board. So the term indicated there is 2/10 net 30. So these two, that 2 is the discount rate. So where the 2 is the discount rate, and it is in form of what? A percentage. So that 2 is the discount rate, and it is in form of a percentage. That means this is 2%. Then this 10 is the discount period. 10 is the discount period. Then 30 is the credit period. So when you get this term, get that explanation. This one is representing the discount rate, and it is in form of a percentage. Even if they don't put there a percentage, remember it is what? In form of a percentage. This one is the discount period. That one is the discount period. Then 30 is the credit period. So it can be either days or month, depending on what the question has specified. So this term, we will be getting them in the question. So 2 divided by 10, net 30. So 2 is the discount rate. 10 is the discount period. 30 will be what? The credit period. So that is what I want you to know. So get to understand that term. When you get it in the question, that is what it means. Then note number 4, they have talked about collection policy. So when it comes to the collection policy, they have said that this is the company system and the procedure of collecting payments from the customers when they fall due. So a company may come up with a procedure in order to determine the payment habits of the customers. When collecting the funds from the customers, a company may adopt any of the following 2 credit policies. So A, they have talked about lenient or liberal credit policy, where they have said that under this policy, lenient terms are given for a longer period. This will lead to increase in the company sales volume and increase in the bad debt expenses. Then conservative or stringent credit policy. This is where the company will sell on credit, but on a highly selective basis to those customers who have been credit worthy and who are financially stable. This will lead to the decrease in the company's volume and the decrease in the bad debts expenses. So that part, they normally ask some questions on it. They normally ask some questions on it. Like now, if you can refer to the sitting of if you can check August 2022, August 2022, question number 2, part B. August 2022, question number 2, part B. August 2022, question number 2, part B. So are you able to see that question 2, part B? August 2022, question number 2, part B. Where we are saying distinguish between the following terms as used in finance. Distinguish between the following terms as used in what? In finance. So Roman letter 3, you see the liberal credit policy and the conservative what? Credit policy. So I hope you can read that. So you will check through that part to see how we can be able to handle that question. So what I want us now to do, I want you to check the question for September 2021. Question number 4, part C. We now go to September 2021, question number 4, part C. September 2021, question number 4, part C. September 2021. Question number 4, part C. September 2021. Question number 4, part C. September 2021. Question number 4, part C. So are you able to see question 4, part C? The one for Upesi Wholesalers Limited. Upesi Wholesalers Limited deals in the sale of foodstuff to the retailers. So owing to economic depression, the firm intends to relax its credit policy to boost productivity and the sales. So the firm's current credit policy is net 30. And average debt collection period is what? 45 days. So the current annual credit in amount to shillings, how much? 60 million. So the firm intends to change to net what? 60. So unajua net. Mesema hiyo net represents what? Credit period. This part where they put net, then the days, those days they put there are the credit what? Period. Then they continued to say that where sales are expected to increase by what percent? 25%. Then credit and debt analysis cost will increase from the current 2% to 2.5% of what? The credit sales. So bad debts will also increase from the current 1.5% to 2% of the credit sales. So variable costs account for what percent? 75% of the sales. So return on the asset is 12%. Assume there are how many days in a year? So advise the company whether to adopt the new credit policy. They would like you to advise the company whether to adopt the new credit policy. So what normally happens for that? You simply prepare the income statement. You get the profit before the change. Also get the profit after the change. So if it will have gone up, you change. But if it has decreased, you advise them not to change. That's now the concept we shall get from there. But before we do the question, I would also like to give you the formula on how to get the average debtors, how to calculate the average debtors. So average debtors is supposed to be given by credit sales, is supposed to be given by the credit sales multiplied by the average debtors collection period. Average debtors collection period. Average debtors collection period. Then we divide by number of days in the year. So that's how we shall be getting the average debtors. You simply get the credit sales multiplied by average debtors collection period, then divide by the number of days in a year. So I want now to prepare the income statement. I want to come up with what is supposed to be the income statement. So in the income statement, in the income statement, so there is before the change, and also after change. Before the change and also after the change. So we prepare the income statement from that level. So you start off with the sales. So I want to give 3 zeros at the top. So we start off with the sales. So sales, they were able to give you the current annual credit in amount, which means how much? So currently it is 60 million. So there are 3 zeros at the top. Currently it is 60 million. Then after that, the firm intends to change to net 60, where the sales are expected to increase by what percent? So get 125% of the 60 million. So we get that new sales after the change, because it is increasing by 25%. So what will be 125% of the 60 million? So it will be 75 million. So that is now after the change. Then, when you go before required, they have said that variable cost account for what percent of the sales? Now 75%. So now we less the variable cost. We shall be required to less get 75% of the sales. So what is 75% of 60,000? Now put the 45,000. Also get 75% of 75 units. Also get 75% of the 75 units. That one should be how much? 56. So I want you to subtract the variable cost from the sales to get the contribution or the gross profit. So you minus the variable cost from the sales to get the contribution or the gross profit. So how much is this one? Is it 15? Are you giving me happy? Sorry? 19 or 18? 700. So now we less expenses. Minus expenses. Less the expenses. We minus the expenses. So under the expenses, you go through the question. For now, credit and debt analysis cost. Are you able to see credit and debt analysis costs? So you want now to check on the credit and debt analysis cost. Will it increase from 2% to where? Of what item? So get 2% of this, or we assume all these sales are on credit, unless they specify. So get the 2% of 60. You get the 2% of 60. 2% of 60,000. Now put that up. Sorry. Now put that 1,200. Alex, I hope you can see where I'm getting 1,200. I will not write it there, but I've explained. It is 2% of what? The sales, because I want us to be together. Then this one, or the one after the change, they said it will increase to what percent? Yeah, so also get 2.5% of 75,000 because it's of the credit sales. 2.5% of the credit sales, which is going to be 18. Like that. 1875. So the other expenses, you see the bad debts. So bad debts will also increase from the current 1.5% to 2% of what? Credit sales. We also include there bad debts. Also include there the bad debts. So get 1.5% of the 60,000. 1.5% of the 60,000. So it will give you which. Sorry? This one is 900. I didn't give me what percent. So what is 2% of 75,000? Sorry?
1600.
So there is another expenses. There is another expenses which I will be referring to as opportunity cost of the debtors, which will be opportunity cost of the debtors. So we know debtors are people to whom we have sold goods on credit. So they have not paid you. They have not paid you. If you have been paid, you could have kept that money in the bank, earning you interest. Yes, you see, these people are holding your cash. But if you could have gotten that cash, you will keep it in the bank and it will earn you interest. So you are losing that interest. The loss on the interest, we refer to it as opportunity cost of the debtors. We shall be referring to it as opportunity cost of the debtors because you have sold goods, you have given someone goods on credit. The person has not paid you. So if he could have paid you, that money could be in the bank earning you interest, or you do with it something else to give you some returns. So the question has given you a return on that. Are you able to see the return on asset, which is what percent? 12%. A return on the asset, which is 12%. So we come up with opportunity cost. We get the opportunity cost of the debtors. I've given you a formula of how to get the average debtors. Nakumbuka hiyo formula nimewapea before we start the question. How do we get the average debtors? Credit sales multiplied by what? Then we divide by. Yeah, so that will give you the average debtors. Then you get 12%. The interest rate is 12% of that to give you the opportunity cost of the debt. So, what is the sales? There are 3 zeros at the top, which is 60,000. Then we have seen we multiply by average what? Average debtors collection period. So average debtors collection period, we check there in the second paragraph. You see in the second paragraph, the firm's current credit policy is net what? And average debtors collection period is so multiplied by 45 days. I hope we are getting that point. Multiplied by 45 days. Then you are supposed to divide by what? The number of days in a year. They have said we assume there are how many days in a year? So this one is giving you the average debtors. That one is giving the average debtors. Then the interest rate is what the question has given me as. You see the 12%. Yeah, so I want you to compute, then get 12% of that figure. To give me now the opportunity cost of the debtors. To get the opportunity cost for the debtors, I've said first get the average debtors, then multiplied by that interest rate. Multiplied by that particular interest rate. So, inakuja ngapi? Inakuja 900. Online, is it okay to all of you? Are you okay with that? Yes. Now we go to after the change. After the change, credit sales is how much? 75,000. So we are also supposed to multiply the average collection period of the debtors, isn't it? But now I want you to check of the current annual credit in amount is how much? 60 million, isn't it? Then the firm intends to change to net what? Net 60. And where sales are expected to increase by 25%. You see up there, they have said the firm's current credit policy is net 30. Then they gave you average debt collection period of how many days? 45. So in that second part, where they are changing to net 60, if they don't give you the data average debtors collection period, the assumption is that the credit period is the same as the average debtors collection period. So unaona ile before the change, wamekupea net 13, then the average debtors collection period is 45. But this one, they have only given you net what? 60 without adding there the average debtors collection period. The assumption is that the credit period is now the same as average debtors collection period. When they don't provide, when they don't provide, make sure that you use the credit period. You understand that part?
Yes.
Yeah. When they have not given, like now in the question, they have not given you average debtors collection period after the change. The implication is that the credit period is the same as the average collection period because they have extended. So I may extend the period. Why should we extend now the payment period? You pay after that time. See, it was 45, it was 30, but now they have taken it to 60. So you just pay after those days. So that is now the implication. In a case they have not done what? Provided. But if they provide, use that average debtors collection period. So, which means now I use how many days? Not me 60 hapo. Yeah, then you divide by what? 316. Then also get what percent? 12%. Also get the 12%. Also get the 12%. Which is going to give us how much? 1,500. Okay. So subtract these expenses from the contribution. Subtract those expenses from the contribution. Subtract those expenses from the contribution so that we get the earnings before the tax. The first one. This one is 12,000. Exactly 12,000. Na hiyo ingine ni 13,875. So if the question could have given you the tax rate, we could have subtracted minus the tax. So the tax most of the time is 30%. So you get 30% of this figure. You also get 30% of that figure, but the question did not give you the tax rate. If it is not given, don't include it. Just have it as what? Such. When the question does not give you the tax rate, don't assume it is 30%. This exam is done in Africa, isn't it? We don't know the tax rate in Uganda, isn't it? So they do the same. Rwanda the same. Cameroon, they do the same exam. So don't assume, because now they have a standard answer where they say it will go at 0. When something is not given, don't create your own. Don't create your own, because they will answer that question depending on the information that what provided. So this question has no tax, so don't put it. Just have it as a dash. Then now you get earnings after tax. Earnings after tax, or simply the net profit. You now get the earnings after tax, or simply the net profit, of which this one will remain 7,000. This one will remain 13,875. 13,875. So those are now the details that we have. Those are now the details that we have. So the question was asking you to advise whether to change or not to change. So which one has a higher profit, before or after? Yeah, so because the one after is higher, you advise them to change the credit policy. So the advice is that change the credit policy. Change the credit policy. Change the credit policy, as it will lead to an increase. As it will lead to an increase in the net profit. Change the credit policy, as it will lead to an increase in the net profit. Change the credit policy, as it will lead to an increase in the net profit. And always indicate the increase. Always indicate the increase. So increase in the profit. Increase in the profit will now be equal to 13,875 minus 12,000. So increase in the profit will be 13,875 minus 12. Minus 12 from that question. So that is now what you are going to give. So I will still do at least 2 more questions on that topic when we meet in the next class, then we conclude it. So I gave you the notes for the dividend policy, you remember? So when I do those 2 questions, I will start on the dividend policy. So the handouts I'm giving you, you read the theory part. Computation, I will finish. Anything to do with computation, I will be able to finish. But as we continue, you can see the handout. We are also discussing some few items. So make sure you go back and read them. Make sure you go back and read them. For the theory, for the computation, I will cover the entire syllabus before we get the time. We shall even have at least 2 weeks to do some revision on that. So you can stop there for today. You can stop there for now.